Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. What's up guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with a crypto market review. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not an expert. Do your own research. Okay, so let's take a look at BTC USD on the daily. Everything looks quite bad in the short term. Yeah, so I guess I'll just mark some levels and then we can kind of go from there. Obviously the former all-time high level right around 20k, set back in December of 2017. This obviously is a level that should be strong support. It was strong support on the initial break and it maintained that level on the weekly last week, but currently it looks like it's about to break. Obviously if it loses this level on high time frame charts, I think that you can reasonably assume that it's at least going to go to the 17Ks again, set on that swing low, and potentially even lower. If we want to start setting some levels, we can look at this weekly close back in January of 2018. This was like a bearish retest. And then after that, there are some other wicks that provided some levels like 14K, and also this important, in my opinion, this kind of 12K area. The 12K area is interesting because you could see that price wicked above and it set a high back in July of 2019, and it couldn't break it even past a year later in August of 2020. So this level, in my opinion, this kind of like 12K level is fairly significant in my opinion, and it should provide like pretty good support if price gets down to that level. So where are we at right now? Price is currently breaking below this weekly level, this former all-time high level around 20K. This level should be very strong support. Let's take a look at the daily, and you can see that price, had this big liquidation move from 30K all the way down to 17K in fairly short order. This is obviously a really nasty move in kind of early mid-June. And then price had some sort of mean reversion from 17K all the way up to the low 20s, and now it looks like it's coming back down again. This type of price action is actually quite common if you look at price action with big moves down, and especially when bottoms form. You can see some of my previous videos where I talk about how bottoms are formed, but generally speaking, you'll see like, big consolidation, big liquidation move down, price like wicks up, forms a big wick. You see some sort of like lots of volatility, some mean reversion making a lower high, and then you'll see price come back down to that level once again. Sometimes it'll break past it, sometimes it'll make a higher low, but regardless, it's quite common for price to revisit somewhat close to the lows or even break the lows. So I think that this is pretty common price behavior overall. And it wouldn't personally surprise me to see this wick broken down. Maybe we see like a wick down to the 16Ks. It's quite funny. If you asked me this back in like March or something like that, if we were going to go to 16K, I would have been very surprised. But, you have to take information as it comes. And as it stands, macro is going to affect everything going forward. And lines on a chart, aka this technical analysis, is not really going to matter, and it's still going to really depend on the overall macro. So trying to predict too far into the future is probably a hopeless and futile effort, but we're just going to mark some levels and we are going to just prepare for all types of scenarios. That's generally what traders do, obviously, especially if you're just a general retail trader like me or anybody that you see on CT. We can't fight the Fed, and if we see more destruction in the equities market, then we're going to see more destruction in crypto. That's just the bottom line. So as of right now, what we can do is just mark some levels and then just kind of see where it comes from there. So where we are right now, obviously price is coming back down lower. I personally think that we're at least going to see a minimum of like kind of this 18K, 17K area tapped again, and I think it's quite likely. as I said, it's possible that we see this swing low broken, and I mean there should be some bounces along this area. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's going to be, there's going to be some bounces along this area. Like, I feel very confident in saying that this kind of region will provide a bounce. I don't know what that bounce is going to look like. Maybe we see a wick below, and maybe we see like a bounce up to like 19K again, then goes back lower. But I feel pretty confident that we'll at least see some sort of short-term bounce. If you don't see a bounce, then things get really, really concerning. Like, you know, if you see like this and like a very, very weak bounce and then some consolidation, at that point, that's when you probably are expecting another strong leg down, because it just means that there's no bidding going on, and that buyers are basically not protecting that level whatsoever, don't find fair value at that level. So when we look past kind of the 17K area, you know, as I said, I marked some weekly levels before. You can look for this weekly close around kind of the 16K area, 16.3K. It would make sense for price to have some sort of support there, but ultimately I would view this wick at 14K and then this 12K level as two areas to kind of really watch if this swing low at 17.4K gets broken, just because that's really what these are two levels that I'm really going to view. This weekly close, you know, as I said, it's possible that this provides some support, but I'm kind of unsure about it. So to me personally, there's like two scenarios, and I marked this out on Twitter today. And I could just go into them. I'll just go into them now. Okay, so there's two scenarios in my opinion that currently happen. Actually, I'll keep those levels. Number one, we see price break this low set back in mid-June at 17.5K, and there's a lot of volatility. So it goes to like maybe 16K. Mean reversion, and then we maybe see like some sort of grind up, like maybe like to mid 20Ks or something like that. I don't know. Come back down, and this is just the bottom. So maybe we see price just like have a lot of crazy volatility. We'll see some lower highs. You know, eventually price will actually probably get up to like 30K again, and then it'll dump back down to like 20K. But this is the low. This is one possibility, and then we'll see like a multi-month accumulation cycle. Maybe end of like kind of Q4 2022 is when we would start to see some decent recovery. Scenario number two is where price obviously breaks below the 17K level, and then like kind of consolidation, and then maybe we see like a big wick down again to 14K or 12K. And then at that point, you know, we might see like another mean reversion up to like 20K, and then we come back down, and then like just again a multi-month bear cycle, or not bear, multi-month accumulation cycle. This is the other scenario that I'm kind of viewing. Both scenarios include kind of this 17.5K area to get tested either as a high or low, like around that area, or taken out. I think that both scenarios are quite likely. But to be determined if this is going to be the absolute bottom. And to clarify, when I'm saying the bottom, I really mean this area. I think it's best to just contextualize this entire area as like, you know, the bottom, kind of this 16K to kind of 19K area. But if you look at my other videos, I really explain that bottoms take a really long time to form. So, you know, to me, you're going to have plenty of time to accumulate and buy your shit tokens or your Bitcoin or whatever you want to accumulate, and you're going to have a lot of time to buy at that point. I personally wouldn't try to catch the absolute bottom, you know, wick down, but you know, that's just my trading style. That's just me. But the trend is still clearly very bearish, and I would just go ahead and assume that everything's going to be bearish until we see some sort of liquidation candle and kind of go from there. But yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts on the macro for Bitcoin. In the 4 hour, I personally think that this area is a demand zone right now. So seeing kind of this demand zone right here, and we saw price kind of tap it already. This kind of area from about 19K all the way down to, I would say, kind of like 19K to 18K is kind of like this demand zone. We're seeing some slight bouncing right now off it, but I still ultimately believe that 18K is going to get tested eventually. So that's kind of what I'm personally viewing, is maybe we see some sort of relief bounce, but ultimately, as I said, the trend is still very bearish. Still lower highs, lower lows, and I don't really quite see a bottom happening yet. To me, I would call it a bottom if we see crazy sell volume, mass liquidation at like 16K or whatever, and then like, you know, everybody's like shorting the bottom and price is just getting absorbed. But as of right now, I just am assuming that we are going to go lower. 14K wouldn't surprise me at all, personally. But anyway, those are kind of my overall macro thoughts. Thanks so much for your support, guys, and talk to you guys soon.